Are you tired of overpriced groceries and limited options at the supermarket? Because I know I am. Well, try Misfit Marketplace, where every box is packed with delicious organic produce at up to 40% off retail prices. That's right. You get your fresh fruits to colorful veggies. Misfit Marketplace delivers quality ingredients straight to your door. Visit misfitmarket.com and use code POD20, that is POD20, to get 20% off your first order, and tell them that Dr. T sent you. Eat well, save money, and join the Misfit movement today.
Hey, come on in and welcome to A Win is a Win podcast, where sports and everything else collide. Comfortable? All right. Let's go, Dr. T.
Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. Well, I told you I'd be right back here, and here I am for another week. We have some games, some scores, some upsets. We probably need to make some QB changes. Some, coaches might be worried about their jobs, but nonetheless, it was a wild, wild week in sports. And I'm not talking just about NFL. That's right. We are going to talk about MLB. We're going to talk about the WNBA and a lot of other things. But before we do that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. And don't forget to tell someone to tell somebody else to join A Win is a Win. Thank you guys so much for listening. Go ahead and still, though, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I told you I'm not charging you a dime for it. I know some people do, but guess what? I'm not. And while you're at it, hit that notification bell so you know when a new episode drops. And where are we? We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify and iHeartRadio, or wherever you might listen to your podcast. We got some scores to get into before we get into all of everything that took place. So let's look at some of what happened, some of these scores and these games that happened this weekend. Now, Monday night football, we had the Saints and the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes and his squad showed up and said, no, we are still undefeated, and we're going to show you why we are two-time reigning Super Bowl champions. I mean, when you look at some of these plays that were drawn up, Andy Reid, I'm talking about, he has to be number one. Let me rephrase that. He's the number one play caller, and if it's a number two, it can't even be anywhere in the proximity. Listen, Travis, Killer Trav, drops back in the pocket and passes off, throws, okay, to the end zone, touchdown. Pure cinema. They beat the Saints 26-13. I believe Derek Carr is out. He suffered an injury later on in the game. Cowboys Sunday night defeated the Steelers 20-17. I mean, listen, do you at this point put Russ in if he's healthy? With watching how Fields has played the last two games, do you make that change, or do you just leave it and put Russ in towards the playoffs if you get that far? I think that they need some work on the defense. It is clear that they need someone to drive that defense a little bit better. And for sure, the offense needs some work. And the Cowboys, even though they won, I just don't see much of it wasn't spectacular for, since we talking about the Cowboys now, and they always like these elaborate wins. I didn't see anything elaborate about it. I think you barely just came off of a win. That was a fumble at the goal line that Dak retrieved. And then, of course, something is going on with him and CD having words again on the sideline. Interesting to see what comes of that? I know there can be some frustrations, but come on now. This is two, maybe three games in a row that they've had outbursts. The Packers hold off the Rams 24-19. Just Jordan Love is just he looks like a mini carbon copy of Aaron Rodgers. That's exactly how he plays. Giants shocked me 29-20 over the Seahawks. Now, Geno Smith had a game. Yes, he did, but it wasn't enough. The Giants get their W, and they are now 2-3 on the season. Um, you know, what do the Giants need to do? What do they need to do? Because they're not a threat, but then they pull off a win like this. You know, they have work that needs to be done, and they need. Um, I believe they need a different coaching because I think Dabo just might be on job notification watch in my book. We'll just say that. Cardinals pull off a walk-off field goal over the 49ers. That game was another one, pure cinema. We're going to get to another game that was pure cinema. But Kyler Murray shows up. And let me tell you something. When I tell you that young man can run, he ran something like 39 yards. 39 yards. And didn't even think twice. Came out of there, didn't see any good looks, and was gone. Pew! Out of there. 24-23. Raiders 18-34 took the L to the Broncos. And we already know there's a lot going on in Bronco country with Sean Payton and Bo Nix. Like, okay, this is the second time that we've seen him having words on the sideline with the QB. The difference is Bo Nix was not walking away like Russ and gave him some words right back. Now, I'm not a lip reader. I have no idea what they were saying, but you definitely saw Bo Nix like, no, hold on, wait a minute now, brother. We not about to, this is what we not going to do. That's how I interpreted it. But also on the Raider side, all of this drama, okay, with Devontae Adams, go somewhere. Wherever it is that he's going, let him go. Now, I think that the things might be stagnant a little bit because the Raiders want a round 2 draft pick. And I don't think anybody is going to give that up for Devontae Adams. He's aging. He's a little bit longer in his career. If you put him on a team with young wideouts, is it going to be that let's see, the senior, the older statesman is going to stifle or hinder the younger wide receivers? I don't know, but I'm quite sick and tired of hearing about he's going to be a Jet. Okay. Him and Aaron Rodgers, that's his boy. Okay. Is he going to go to New Orleans? Because he loves Derek Carr. That's the reason why he went from Green Bay to the Raiders so he could play with his homeboy. Wherever you're going to go there. Okay. And quite frankly, the trade deadline is coming up. Let's go ahead and get that out the way right now. Listen, the Ravens Bengals game, pure cinema. Okay. There is nothing that you can say, in my opinion, about this game at all, other than the placeholder messed up that kick for the Bengals. Otherwise, they would have took that in overtime. However, that didn't happen. And Lamar Jackson listen, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, that is unfair. That is like a video game setup right there. That's what that feels like. Because when I'm telling you that he ran all over top of the Bengals, like he's tall, he's lean, he strides like a horse. And they are dangerous, them two brothers right there. But nonetheless, both QBs showed up and showed out. You couldn't say anything bad about this game. And this is the type of football that we need to be excited about. Joe Burrow, Macaulay Culkin, please, showed up and said, let me show you, let me remind y'all what I can do when I'm not hurt. Boom, boom, bing, bing, dimes, dimes, ching, ching, ching. Lamar Jackson said, okay, I'll drop some weight. Let me tell you how quick I can move. Pew, 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 pew. Pure cinema. But Ravens come out on top 41-38. Josh Allen, 9 of 33 completions. I don't know if you didn't sleep well. I don't know if you didn't uh prepare well. I don't know if something threw off your juju, but that is horrible. Okay? And the Texans take the W 23-20. You're not going to win games playing like that. And then we have Nico Collins, who's out with a hamstring injury, which is a slight hit to the Texans at this point. But come on now, Josh. And then what are we now going into week 6? Now we got to worry about the more active he gets, the more loose he gets. What does he do, y'all? Give you a minute. That's right. He throws interceptions. Okay. He's pick, 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 pick. So can the Bills turn it around against upcoming week 6 with the Jets and all of their drama? We'll see. We'll see, because they definitely did not do it this past weekend. Jaguars get their first W. I guess the mustache must have went in there and had a prep talk with his team, because they won 37-34 over Joe Flacco and the Colts. Listen, Joe Flacco, for him to be 40 years old, is playing like he's 24 years old. I mean, that man got loose down the field and was running at 40 years old like he was a Kyler Murray. Gone. And that's why I'm so frustrated with the Browns, because you didn't keep him? You wanted to keep the Shine. Okay, we got the, what's the young man's name? DTP. We have him, and we got Jameis. Come on now. We couldn't keep Flacco. The offensive, even if you looked at the offense and how they changed when he was there as opposed to Watson. Anyway, he's doing good things over there with the Colts. Unfortunately, they did not hold out this week, and the Jaguars get their first W. Do you think that this gives them the little bit of momentum they need to keep that going? We shall see. Tua comes back and gets the Dolphins their first W since he's been down 15-10 over the Patriots. Now, here's my question. We all know about Jacoby. Okay. Is it time to bench him and pull up Drake May? I think some little things might be in the rumbling that happened, as opposed to what the head coach Mayo told us a couple of days ago. We'll get into that. And then we're going to get into, oh my goodness, the Browns and the Commanders. Listen, 34-13. It's embarrassing. It's time to make a quarterback change, Stefanski. Stop getting up here. Now you dug a hole for yourself now, because you said we are not making a change. Okay. Remember you said that. Remember that. Okay. You just got coach of the year for what you pulled off last year, but then you didn't pull that off with Watson. Did you forget you did that with Flacco? Meanwhile, Jaden Daniels is playing like he's been in the league 5 years longer than Watson, running all over his head, and that defense sacked him 7 times. Are you kidding me? Watson he has a just significant downfall and decline since he's left Houston. Whether that be it or not, he wanted to be in Cleveland. It doesn't matter. That contract was the worst in NFL history. Trust me when I tell you how that's going to go down. Worst. NFL deal in history. Sit him down. Sit him down, Stefanski. Don't nobody want to hear these excuses. Okay, so now we go over here to the Panthers and they take the L to the Bears. And you kind of look at Caleb Williams and say, okay, that's a little bit more better. Okay, he finally connects with his wide receiver, gets the W. Now, do you think that this is the juice? Do you think this is the battery that they needed to get going? Because, quite frankly, it just wasn't there for me. I didn't see the Caleb of USC that I saw versus how he was playing in the NFL. And trust me, I understand it's two different games. One, NFL is much faster, but I think in this game it slowed down and he had more control over his decision making. So we'll see if they can keep that going. Vikings across the pond take the W over the Jets. Listen, 3 interceptions, sacked. Offense looks like Pop Warner. Love Pop Warner, but not NFL. Pop Warner Sports. Vikings defense pressure, 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 pressure. But here's the thing: the play calling and all of that is off. The decision making in the red zone is off for the Jets. So does Robert Saleh now keep his job? Think some things might be happening with that, because if you look at that he nor Aaron batted an eye at each other, okay, at all. So it's interesting to see exactly what will take place as far as Robert Saleh's job. And let me just say this: if he does lose his job, that's a 50-50 split. But we'll cross that bridge when we need to come to it. That's just my thought. The Falcons, your favorite cousin, Kirk Cousin, pulled off another W, 36-30 over the Buccaneers. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that he and Bijan have a special connection in Atlanta? Do you think Atlanta now is a viable contender for the chip? Should be interesting to see. But nonetheless, they take the W this week over the Buccaneers. And let's see if Mr. Mayfield has some chitter chatter this week after taking that L like he had with Tom Brady last week. So lots and lots of some of them are upsets, in my opinion. I believe. I mean, and then when I say upset, I don't necessarily mean it in a way that, oh my God, they won. I mean, just upset. Like, come on now, y'all couldn't play no better than to get 13 points. Y'all couldn't play like Raiders no better than to get 18 points. And what I think some of these are must wins now in order to even have a chance for a playoff run. The further you get and the more games you lose, you're already out of the conversation. So at that point, you're just finishing your season. So the teams that are 1-4 and so on and so on, y'all better get it together. 49ers and Seahawks is coming up this Thursday night football. We'll go over some best bets later. But when we come right back, we're going to get into all of the news that took place over this past weekend. And a couple of stories is just like, okay, come on now. Like, why is your mama stealing boxes? Stuff like that. So grab something to drink, stretch, and we'll be right back. So in the middle of this recording, we get breaking news that Robert Saleh was indeed fired. Boom. Now, we were just talking about if he was going to keep his job based on the Jets' performance. And as we're recording, breaking news on Fox Sports, ESPN, everywhere, my phone's blowing up, IG DMs going off. Tiffany, did you see it? Did you see the news? I'm recording. No, I didn't. Boom. They let him go. So let's backtrack. We'll get to the sports news in a second. Let's deal with this first. Now, in the movie Friday, Chris Tucker jokingly says, "How you get fired on your day off?" That's just exactly what happened. Now, while some of the media seems to be shocked that this took place, and fans, even some, right now as we're talking, I'm watching Twitter and I'm watching Instagram chats, 100% blaming Aaron Rodgers. Let's look at his underwhelming performance, especially on offense. And that's what I was alluding to earlier. Now, this offense, which ranked, gotta forgive me, I had to write some stuff down as this stuff is just coming out. So that offense ranked 24th in yards per game and 20th in points per game. Now check out these little tidbits, I call them, of concerns that I've been seeing regarding his play calling and game planning. Okay. Too reliant on deep passes. It's just too predictable. Now I've seen a lot of times where it's just way too heavily invested on deep throws. And I feel like in a short, how do I want to say this? Like in a short to intermediate game, in my opinion, that didn't play well with Rogers' strengths. Okay. And we'll get to Rogers more in depth in a minute. But his inadequate, or let's just say no running game. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. No running game whatsoever, despite the talented backfield. And watching them in action, it leads to predictable pass heavy play calling. Just watch the game. They're not even expecting you to run the ball. So they already know that this is going to be pass heavy play. Every single team that you play is too predictable at when you watch those games. So, I mean, and here's the thing, is he scared of the run? Is he afraid of the run? Because why are you so heavy on passing? I don't really understand that. And his red zone inefficiency. Listen, no goal line play calling and failing to score, along with zero creativity within the play in the red zone. No creative play whatsoever in the red zone. How do you think that you're going to win games if you're not getting creative in the red zone? I just said it. Look at Andy Reid. Who took the snap? Killer Trav took the snap and passed the ball. That's called creative playing, and that's why the Chiefs are who they are. Andy Reid is who he is. Protection and blocking issues are all over the place with inadequate pass protection. I mean, just look at the pressure he was under to throw the ball, not to mention the confusion in the blocking assignments. Aaron Rodgers, when that ball snapped, they was on him. They was on his neck every single time. And then how are these blocking assignments getting all screwed up? Watch it. This block was missed. That block was missed. Did y'all not do this in practice? Oh, okay. All right. My last concern was this. I wrote this down in my phone to talk about it at a later date for another game. It seems appropriate, excuse me, at this particular point in time. But where are the tight ends? Where are they at? I don't know. They're and then you have Wilson and Lazard at times are just MIA. I mean, talk about personnel development. It's a mess. It's completely a mess. Okay, so now let's look at Rodgers with a different type of microscope. Okay. Now, if we go back, you got the coach in Green Bay fired. Robert Saleh fired. Beefing with your coach publicly at the podium. completely not taking any responsibility for what you do, but you beefing with him indirectly or sometimes directly at the podium. Listen, Aaron does what he wants. He has no trust in damn near anything or anyone. And let's be clear, Rodgers plays a part. I don't care if he goes out later and tries to deny whatever, or you know how he'll say, well, I just don't trust this person. I don't trust that person. And I'm a lot nicer than people. Okay, all right, whatever. You were just getting ready to run for the vice presidency of the United States, remember? You abandoned camp where you're supposed to build some type of correlation and consistency and cohesiveness with your team, but you were over in Egypt finding yourself spiritually, and that's cool, but not when it's time to play football. His fingerprints is all over this somewhere, whether he wants to admit it or not. He got them little itty bitty piggy fingers somewhere all over this. But this is what I'll say before we get into the sports news. We've seen this before and we've been here before. So I hope this doesn't turn into a week-long saga where we're talking about this and we're overshadowing bigger sports subjects. Like I said, we got college football coming up. We got 55 days of pure games. I mean, I don't want this to overshadow it. Listen, businesses are businesses, and right now the NFL is a business. It always has been, but it's more at the forefront right now. And what I'm saying is this is not the first, the last, and the only time something like this is going to happen. It just so happens to be a team where Aaron Rodgers is a part of, and where he kind of sort of plays. Voting is the cornerstone of our democracy. We know that people fought tooth and nail to get that privilege. It is how we make our voices heard, and we drive change in our communities through voting. Your vote matters, so make sure you are registered, stay informed, and cast your ballot this upcoming election. Remember, your vote is your power. If you are not registered to vote, go to vote.org. That's vote.org. Get registered so that your voice is heard. Let's get back to the show. All right, so here we are again with another. Someone's biting their words and backtracking. So we had the coach from New England said, we are not making a quarterback change. Well, yes, you are, because Drake May will definitely start this Sunday's game for the Patriots against the Texans. And looks like now, okay, here's the thing. You cannot go back now. Oh, no. Oh, no, you can't go back. This is not just allowing Jacoby to sit down and take a rest. No, you benched him. He's not hurt. He's not on IR. He's not on PUP. This has nothing to do with that. This is you weren't playing efficiently. You weren't playing well enough, good brother. So you have to sit down. Remember that. Because now you can't go back. Drake May is your QB1 now. Oh, yeah. Yes, he is. So be clear. This isn't if Drake May and they're going up against the Texans. Oh, and that defense. Ooh wee. Listen, I hope not, but I think that these Texans are defenses. They're going to feast on this young man, and I just hope not. But listen, Mayo had to eat his words from a week before. See where I'm going with this, Stefanski? Follow the lead. Even if you got to eat them, follow the lead. Get Watson up out of there quickly and in a hurry. The Lynx versus the Liberty. Now, check this out. I'm ask y'all a question. Will the Liberty bring New York a chip before the Knicks? Interesting. Listen, speaking of the Lynx, Courtney Williams is going to be a problem. Okay? Problem. I'm talking about when you talk about somebody playing lights out, 15 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. perfect 6 from 6. But nonetheless, she's going up against Stewie. That's right. And Ionescu. So these finals are set. Who do y'all think will be the next champion? The Lynx or the Liberty? Jump down in the chat, let me know. Listen, Nando and the excuse me, and the Padres. I'm still thinking about the Patriots. And the Padres are on complete fire. I'm talking about fire right now. Pure, pure cinema. Check this out.
And take command in this best of five, leading it 2 games to 1.
That's right. The Padres popped the LA Dodgers in a final 6-5. And now they take the series lead 2-1. And I believe they are going to be going at it Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. So who y'all got for that game? You got the Dodgers. You think that Showtime is going to pull it out for his team and tie this thing up? Or you think the Padres are going to put it in the bucket? Let me tell you, Padres want all the smoke, y'all. That is a young team. They are coming in there. They are dancing in the outfield. They are talking smack to the refs, the umpires, everybody. They want the smoke. They throwing balls into the bullpen and the other team. Like, they are not here for the games. And it's kind of refreshing to see that, though. It's kind of refreshing because, baseball has its own stigma about, you know, how it is and it's boring and all. No, the Padres are saying, hold on now. We not with all of that. We are coming, and we are coming strong. Okay. Nico Collins is out. He pulled a hamstring when they played the Bills last week, and he's being placed on the injured reserve list. Now, they didn't disclose the extent of his injury, but he will be sidelined for a minimum of about 4 games. So, I mean, Diggs to me is loading up. I think he's going to get targeted a lot more with Nico on the sideline. That's just how I feel. But who do you think CJ Stroud is going to make his main target? Now, listen, Nike said, sorry, my videos want to play without me. Okay, so Nike said, listen, we will give you the entire bag. Yep, that's right. So it's interesting because a lot of people had a lot to say about Caitlin Clark and her shoe deal and however that went, and why isn't anyone else getting this, that, the third, and this, that, and the other, and whatever. She gets her money, and so is this young lady right now. That's right. Juju Watkins has agreed on a multi-year contract extension with Nike that will give her one of the richest shoe endorsement deals in women's basketball history. Shout out to Juju. She deserves. When I tell you that phrase, Juju balling, oh yeah, that young lady gets busy, and she deserves all of it. Listen, so if the season ended today, college, who would be your Heisman finalist? Who y'all got? If the season ended today, who would be your Heisman finalist? I'm going to give you mine, and then I'm going to ask that you let me know who your finalist would be down in the comments. So I'm going to start off right here with Jalen Milroe. Why? 964 passing yards, 18 total touchdowns, 273 rushing yards. My next one, Cam Ward, which I'm going to get into him a little bit later. 1,782 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 70.2% completion rate. I'm going to go here. Got to put this young man in the conversation. Travis Hunter, 561 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And last, listen, this young man has to be in the front running of all Heisman candidates. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, give it to him right now. Ashton Genty. Listen, I've talked about this young man time after time after time after time. 845 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, 10.3 YPC. Listen, there isn't, and he's on pace to break college football record already, and the season's not even over. And in my opinion, some of this is not even close. And I know the Heisman usually goes to a quarterback, but y'all better not. Don't do that. Let's not. We're not doing that one. No, 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 no. Listen, we got beef and a cheesesteak. Yep, a little bit of beef. Now, it seems that Romeo Dobbs is mad. Um, Seems that he's not getting his targets like he wants. He's not being utilized in the way that he seems fit. So what do? The Packers suspended Romeo 1 game for conduct detrimental to the team. Now Packers GM Brian Gutekunst, I can never say his name, issued the following statement. Unfortunately, we had to make a difficult decision to suspend Romeo this week's game. His decisions and actions during this week negatively impacted the team and required us to take this particular action. While we certainly are disappointed, we are confident that we will be able to move forward in a positive manner. Romeo is a valuable member to our team, and we look forward to welcoming him back next week. Now, what you just bet not do, Mr. Dobbs, is go ahead and ask for a trade. Please don't do that. Please don't. Let's not do that. And you skipped Thursday and Friday's practice over frustration. And I do understand if you are frustrated, but let's just keep it tall. There are other ways in which you can go about handling your frustration. There are other ways in which you can go about getting your point across without taking a key piece you away from your team. Got to got to do better. Got to do better. Listen, when I tell you the upset of the week is a weak description, it was more like chaos. What am I talking about? Listen, Vanderbilt pulls off a superb upset, stunning upset over Alabama in Nashville. The Commodores defeat the Crimson Tide 40-35. Now check this out. Here's a fact about Vandy. Vandy is now 1 of 60 all time against top 5 opponents. When I tell you it was so much more chaos in college football, and guess what? I'm here for all of it. I'm here for all of it. Does Jalen Milroe come out the Heisman conversation because of that? Let me know down in the chat. I've heard some rumblings about that. He should come out of the conversation. Not too certain that that's the answer, but y'all let me know exactly what it is that you think. Listen, y'all got to say this young brother's name with me, okay? Ready? I'm going to say it first and then y'all repeat it. Cam Ward is nothing nice. Listen, when I tell you that this man led his team to a monster 25-point comeback against Cal, this lets you know that the Heisman campaign is very much alive. 437 passing yards, 35 of 53, and 2 passing touchdowns. I'm talking about it's like the ACC goes dark, goes crazy after dark. It's just like the sun goes down and the ACC comes out of the woodworks like, oh yeah, we're here to show up. Goes crazy after dark. And let's just say this. If he does get drafted, let's just hope he goes to somewhere where he can make a difference. Um, and I think that he would be. So my list before was in no certain order. But if I had to go 1, 2, Genty and Cam Ward, respectfully, respectively, back to back. Listen, most targets in an NFL game, 22. Now, if you cry about targets, you're going to get them. What am I talking about? Garrett Wilson's 22 targets today are the most in an NFL game since 2015. And he had a busy afternoon across the pond over there in London. 22 targets, 13 receptions, 101 yards, and 1 touchdown. Do you see? Look at his numbers and look at what I just said about Robert Saleh and his inefficiencies. 22 targets. Here's the thing. If you, and I want to be very soft when I say this, but if you cry that you're not getting targeted after every single game, here you go. Aaron Rodgers said, here you go. What can you do with it? I'm throwing it to you. Where are you at? Okay. 22 targets. Listen, the Bucks has a new buck. Sort of. A little bit. Kinda. Yep. Rajon Rondo spent the week with the Bucks as a guest coach, and Doc Rivers says he'll remain with the team in an unspecified capacity. You'll see a lot of him, and that's all I'll say. Now, Rondo says he absolutely hopes to be an NBA coach someday. I think this is a good thing for Rondo, actually. Learning under Doc Rivers. Listen, say what you want to about Doc Rivers' record, okay? But here he hasn't won anything since what was it, 2008. I get it. But check this out. He builds men. He takes them from boys to men and grooming him to shift his thinking from being a player to a coach. I think Doc has that type of substance to give him that experience to give him to where he could be a coach one day. I think this is awesome to give him that type of opportunity to see exactly, what he learns and what he can do possibly going forward. Listen, the Big Bodega is the name that they have given Cat, and he made his New York Knicks debut in preseason. 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals. How do you think he's going to fit in the lineup? Now, I'm going to get to that Knicks lineup and what they're trying to look at here in a second. But let me tell y'all, because, or should I say, whoa, Woj's nemesis got the job. Shams got the job as Woj's successor. And, that was, they were nemesis. Him and Woj. So it's interesting to see what he brings to NFL. We all see him all over the Pat McAfee show and all over Instagram. And I just have to say we cannot see according to Shams, because that's a Woj thing. We got to leave according to Woj. That's coin for him. But it should be interesting to see exactly what he does when he gets with ESPN, and how he's going to fit in his approach and his angle to bring in some of those breaking news stories that we love to get from Woj. And shout out to Woj for standing on his business and leaving. There probably are some other things going on at ESPN that the public may not be privy to, and that's cool. But like the man said, he wanted to go back home and coach for his a home team, and that was just something that he wanted to do. So gotta respect that. See what Shams can do. So okay, getting back to the Knicks though, they're showing interest in Marcus Smart coming off the bench as a possible six man. So tell me, what do you think about the Knicks starting lineup? So we got Brunson at the one, Bridges at the two, Hart at the three, Anubi at the four, and Cat at the five, and possibly, if they get Marcus Smart coming off the bench, as the sixth man. I know some people still mad about Dante, but what can you do? Deal is done. And as fans, I know that that's hard to swallow. But like I said, back with the NFL, business is business. Listen, so people have things that go on outside of their lives of the sport. Some good, some bad, some ugly. This one seems to be pretty ugly. Now, Patriots Jabril Peppers was arrested. Now, his charges are including assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, strangulation, and get this, y'all, possession of cocaine. Now, hold on a minute. You up here treating your nose as a NFL player, which is leading you to do irrational things to this young lady. Strangled her, drug her to the ground, beat her, and then you're high off cocaine and you have some on your person. Now, he was arrested in Braintree, Massachusetts, where police said they responded to a disturbance at a residence earlier Saturday morning and arrested Peppers after investigating the incident, according to reports. Now, the victim was treated at the scene, and there is no word on the severity of the victim's injuries. Wants to keep that private, and the team ended up putting out a statement. The front office put out a statement, and just to kind of let them know, like, we're aware of it. Um, and they have no further comment. I mean, they came out and said, we're aware, but we have no further comment. And some people got mad, like, what do you mean you don't have no comments? You don't have anything to say what's gonna happen? How are they gonna talk about a police investigation? Are you kidding me? Moving along. Some stuff, people, the fans, I get it. Fans are gonna fan. But at some point, your common sense has to supersede you being a fan. I'm just saying. Listen, the reason why I said give Ashton Genty um, the Heisman right now, he's on pace to break Barry Sanders' all-time rushing yard records. He's averaging 206 yards per game and tied an FBS record in needing just 5 games to eclipse 1,000 rushing yards. He's on pace for 2,887 rushing yards. All-time record by Barry Sanders is 2,628. Give that young man the Heisman right now, in my opinion. Listen, um, 2023 week 1 and 2 and week 3 and week 4 and week 5. Total of 93 points for the New York Jets. Fast forward to 2024. And what do we have? Weeks 1 through 5. Points. 93. Let that sit in your spirit for a little bit while you while we're digesting the fact that Robert Saleh has lost his job. Do we see anything different with Aaron Rodgers behind the center? Because I don't. He's underperforming way, way, way worse than what he used to when he was in Green Bay, if you ask me. But let that sit in your spirit for a little while. Listen, I don't like when other people have an explanation for why someone else isn't doing something and they're not in their lives to understand why. What I mean is Rich Paul sits down and explains why Michael Beasley is not in the NBA. Now, Beasley hasn't played in the NBA for over 5 years. Instead, he's been traveling the globe to China, Puerto Rico, Bali. He's living his life on his terms, and perhaps that's just wasn't what it didn't come into fruition for him. Now, for someone who entered the NBA with such high expectations, it's surprising to see how his career has unfolded to some people. And I think surprising being an operative word here because people assume that when you're in the NBA and you're getting all this money and you have all this attention and your game is, on a high level, that's all the substance that you need. And that's just simply not the case. Now, Rich Paul says Michael Beasley is probably one of the most talented guys ever to touch a basketball, but talent also has to be able to value infrastructure too. Now, imagine somebody sitting up discussing in a whole interview about why you aren't playing basketball anymore when you haven't even said to anyone why you're not playing basketball. So this is what I don't these are the type of things that I don't like. If you're going to say something, then have that person there. If you couldn't get Beasley on the show, then perhaps you could have just did a segment on his data and how he performed in the NBA, or a quote unquote where is he now segment, not going to someone else and asking them, tell me why he's not there. No, I don't like that kind of stuff. Go straight to the source. That's what you do. Go right on over there to the source and let them talk for himself. Listen, when you talk about someone joining your opposition, that is exactly what Frank Vogel did. He didn't waste any time getting back around the coaching scene after being dismissed by the Suns. What was that, about 4 or 5 months ago? Excuse me. Mark Stein, former Suns coach Frank Vogel is joining Phoenix Suns rivalry, the Dallas Mavericks. Now, he joins the Mavericks as a coaching consultant, and Jason Kidd said he is a part of our coaching staff. Woo! LA to Phoenix to Dallas. Woo-wee. I know some fans are going to be either you ain't worried about it or it's pissed you off. One of the two with the Suns fans. Listen, if I had to tell y'all uh, a song that would describe this young man's uh, future, I'll just say that. Or what should happen? There's a singer by the name of Teddy Pendergrass, and he said, I think you better let it go. And y'all know the rest of the song. Yeah, it's time to let it go, Stefanski. And I mean immediately. Listen, there is no reason why we need to stick with Deshaun Watson as the starting quarterback, despite us being 1-4. I mean, the Browns are fielding the only offense in the NFL that has failed to total 300 yards in a game this season. And you go on TV and you're saying that, well, we're just going to stick with him. There isn't going to be a quarterback change. And that's coming from everyone. No, somebody told you to say, oh, okay. So the next coach that need to be worried about his job outside, okay, well, Salah's already gone. I'm thinking Sirianni is next. Sirianni and Stefanski are right there, neck and neck. Coach of the year 2023, fired 2024. What y'all think? I think that's incoming because there is no way, ain't no way that this is justified, that you see how poorly he is performing and you are deciding to keep him in the game. No, not that. That's just nasty work, nasty work. And it's not even, what's the reason? Isn't that a couple years ago, Cardi B was on that show, oh geez, Love and Hip Hop, and she's yelling at, well, who is it, Joe Budden or somebody, and she's like, "What's the reason? What's the reason?" Well, what's the reason, Stefanski? Let us know, because we don't know at this point. We don't know what y'all doing, but it's not working. Okay, that's much we do know. Listen, now, why is your mama stealing boxes? Okay, Smokey and Friday, he said, "What you stealing boxes for?" What your mama stealing boxes for? Now, Rashid Rice's mother is being accused of stealing packages containing chaperone records right from her neighbor's porch. I don't know what chaperone records are. I have to look that up. From her neighbor's front porch last night. Now, the video shows Marsha Kearney wearing, listen to this, y'all, a custom Mama Rice number 4 jersey. Now, come on. Your son, I'm more than sure, is making sure that you are well taken care of. What are you stealing boxes for, ma'am? Miss Ma'am, why are you stealing boxes? And whatever is in that box, I'm quite sure that you have enough funds to go and get it for yourself. That sounds like some klepto stuff. Knock it off. Just listen, Deontay Johnson, wide receiver for the Panthers, could emerge from a trade as a trade candidate as Carolina looks to rebuild for the future. Now, he is on an expiring deal while Thielen, I think that's how, I never can say that, is under contract through 2025 season with a $4 million base salary. Now, with Dave Canales looking to overhaul the roster with younger players, the Panthers may consider trading both wide receivers to stockpile draft capital. What do you think about that? I mean, in some instances, I feel like this. Why even bring Johnson in if this is going to be the case? Like, why? That, I mean, the Panthers along with the Jaguars give me a migraine. Bad. Moving along. Now the big play slay. That is a tongue twister right there. Big play slay podcast is Eagles Darius Slay's podcast. And he went on his podcast to go through and say that he admitted it, that the post Bucks game, that a bunch of people had got under his skin. And the podcast was to address the extreme heat that he's faced this week following the disappointing loss to the Bucks. Excuse me, on Sunday. Now, this past Sunday. Now, he says that there's no bad blood between him and CJ, GJ, Micah, and his relationship goes way back before he was a Cowboy. Now, Slade did not try to defend his now deleted swiped tweet like you swiped it and just deleted it, defending himself after the game. I tried to be the best role model and leader that I can be, and to get uh attacked all the time. Well, not all the time, but for that game, I'm like, God, dog, I had a great ball, great catch on me, and y'all was just attacking the dude. I got in my feelings a little bit. I don't know, you know, all of the ins and outs of how bad it gotten, but you got to respect it. He's a human. These players are not subhuman. They have feelings too, and that is to be respected. You know, and a lot of times I think that fans can pounce and pounce and pounce and pounce on players um online. It's a difference between stating facts when you are not performing well. It's also a big difference in bullying. Okay. Bullying and stating facts are two different things. If you didn't play well, here are the facts that support it. Move on to next week. End of story. If you continue to play like this, then the facts and the data are going to have to allude to something else to be done. But to bully somebody online consistently, these players have feelings too, and it's good that he stood up for himself. It's good that he's bringing his human side just like the rest of us. That's all. Now, something funny happened, okay? If you don't know, Clay Martin is a ref, an NFL ref, but he's also a basketball coach. And in this past weekend's games, I believe he was with the ref at the Texans game. He made an interesting call. Take a listen to this.
Runs out of bounds. The Fluke fumbled the basketball. The ball be placed at the 39-yard line. It is a first down.
So he said that the runner fumbled uh the ball and the basketball will be placed at the 39-yard line. When I tell you the X, Twitter, or whatever you call it, had a time with this, they came up with every other call that you could think of that would be out of sorts. It was pure comedy. But, for people who are trying to be rude to him and saying that, oh, he has CTE and this, knock it off. He's a basketball coach. And sometimes your thoughts, just like we're human in podcasts, we can fumble over our words. You can be in mid conversation and fumble over your words. The man just forgot where he was because he coaches basketball. End of story. All right. So when we come back, we got a lot of bets to get through, y'all. A lot. So stick around for that. And we'll be right back. Get your pens and papers out. Get your phones out for record. Get your notepads on your phone so you can make these coins. Looking for some quality betting picks? Well, download the Discord app and join our group Bet Masters Lounge, where you can get positive EV and arbitrage along with best bets and parlays. Download Discord now, send us an invite, and get in on the action. Time for this week's best bets. Don't forget you could catch us on DraftKings. Go to drT23.site. That is DRT23.site. Click join me on DraftKings and go ahead and make your first deposit if you haven't already. Get that deposit match bonus, and then don't forget to look at the promos. Make sure your promos matches the bets that you are placing. We're going to start off with college football. I'm going to take Penn State versus USC, the under at 51.5, and Penn to cover the minus 4.5 point spread. Pittsburgh versus Cal under 58 and Pittsburgh on the money line. Ohio State versus Oregon. We're going with the over 52.5 and over 10.5 the first quarter. Arizona versus BYU over 49, and I'm taking BYU to cover the minus 4.5 point spread. And Texas and Oklahoma I'm taking the over 50 and Texas on the money line. The WNBA, the Lynx versus the Liberty, I'm going with the under 159.5 and the Lynx to cover the plus 6.5 point spread. Listen, they just might pull that W off, y'all. I'm telling you. Here's my MLB props for this week. Alex Cobb, my guardian, but I'm going to give him the under 10. Just don't think he's going to pull that off with Detroit strikeouts. Jose Quintana with the over 9 strikeouts. He'll get that easy. Dylan Cease over 4 strikeouts. That's about his average. Clark Schmidt, I'm going to go with the under. He's not going to get that 4 strikeouts in this game. Ranger Suarez, I'm going to go over 3. He's about 4 average. So I think they undershot that one on the books. And then Seth Lugo, I'm going to go over 4 strikeouts. That's about his average 3.5. For the NFL, I'm going Bills under 41 and Buffalo to cover the minus 0.5 spread at the half. For the Lions game, Detroit to cover that minus 3 spread, and Dak and Goff to cover 1.5, over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Ravens, I'm going to go with the over 51.5, and McLaurin over 57.5 receiving yards. The Seahawks, I'm going to go Geno with over 246.5 passing yards and under 49 for the Seahawks. Yeah, I think they'll be under that. On the Texans, I'm going under 38.5 and Stroud with over 243.5 passing yards. And then across the pond again in London, we got the Jags and the Bears. I'm going +2 on the points for the Jags and ETN under 59.5 rushing yards. So let me know exactly what you guys think about these bets. Do you want to keep them coming? So far this week, I am 10 of 9. Lost one on the MLB game, but 10 of 9 is not bad. That's giving me about a 97% win rate. So let me know if you want these picks to keep coming. We'll keep those coming. And then when we come right back, we're going to get in the gone now because I'm sick of politics and we don't talk about it when we come right back. All right, it's time for gone now because right now, this particular young man I'm sick and tired of, he's crashing out all over the place. But apparently, Drake is in his feelings because LeBron was at the pop out. LeBron was rapping to Like That at one of the NBA basketball warm-up games. And so, Drake's goons, Canadian goons, have come out and threatened the United States and, all this Canada versus United. Okay, all right, Drake, enough is enough. If you want to unfollow somebody, just unfollow them. You don't have to send your people to make threats towards LeBron or his family and all of this kind of stuff because he chose what he wanted to listen to. Stop it. Knock it off. Gone now. Go up there in your house. Go over there on Twitch with that little real nasty girl that you messing around with over there, getting these young kids to flash their private parts all over, and watch you gonna end up in the same situation as somebody else that we know. Because don't forget, it's being recorded, and you have been recorded. So while you're worrying about what somebody's listening to, you need to worry about that. That kind of stuff is just real filthy and nasty and gone now. We don't need that type of drama. The NBA season is getting ready to start, and we already know you don't win anything when it comes to bets. You're probably like bad luck with that stake app that you have, and you're all over here trying to unfollow people because they not riding your coattail. Knock it off. Gone now. Gone away up there in Canada. Listen, Ron DeSantis, I'm sick and tired of him as well. He gets on my last nerves. He makes my soul itch. Now, he refuses to talk to Kamala Harris on the Hurricane Helene. Now, listen, she is still the sitting vice president. Whether you like her or not, whether she's vocal or not, she is still the sitting vice president. If you're going to follow politics the correct way, you need to follow it the correct way, and you have to take a call from the president or the vice president when there is a disaster such as this. Now, check this out. According to multiple sources, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is not taking calls from Vice President Kamala Harris about storm recovery after Hurricane Helene damaged parts of Florida. Now, pause. You know, there's another one that's a category 5 that could tear up Florida far worse than Helene. I'll keep going. A source familiar with the situation said he dodged the Democratic presidential nominees. First of all, yes, she's the presidential Democratic nominee. She's also the sitting vice president. That's the wrong introduction for her. That he dodged her calls because they seemed political. A DeSantis aide told NBC News Kamala was trying to reach out and we didn't answer. At a press conference Monday afternoon, DeSantis denied that he refused to take Harris's call and said he has been in direct contact with Federal Emergency FEMA Director Deanne Criswell. Now, hold on now. You denied taking her call, but in the same sentence, you said you talked to the FEMA director instead. So you didn't take her call. Gone now. So you just caught your own self up in a lie. First of all, before you even talk to the FEMA director, you're supposed to talk to the president or vice president of the United States of America to come up with an emergency management plan. And so you just told on yourself in a news conference. Gone now. Listen, Hurricane Helene landed in Florida's Big Bend region on September the 27th, devastating some of the state's rural North Florida counties and swamp cities along the Gulf Coast. Many of those cities are still dealing with significant flood damage, leaving more than 200 dead. Now, instead of worrying about that, instead of getting on the phone with the vice president to come up with relief efforts for your citizens, you want to play this media tit for tat. So if you saying that her calls were political, gone now, what do you think yours was? You mean to tell me that you went and talked to the FEMA director who has pull in that realm, but you skipped over talking to the vice president to get all of these different relief efforts in place? Gone now. I don't like politics. I can't stand it. I'll be glad when this election is over. I'm tired of my phone ringing. I'm tired of the emails, all of it. But this is key. Okay. Before I get out of here, I'm going to leave you with this. This is key. This is exactly why we need to vote in other elections that are not the primary, your state, your local, your judicial branches, that are the people who fill these offices, that make decisions, that have pull without it being the president. You need all these little players in play. And when you don't take it seriously, you have people like Ron DeSantis, who's taking out African American history in books because it's not telling the truth. Oh, okay. So let me just guess. You were born when the slaves were brought here from the Caribbean. Okay. So all of the stories that the people have shared, and slavery is not that far removed. Okay, it is not that far removed. When my grandfather passed away, he was 94, and guess what? He was a slave. My grandfather. You mean to tell me every last one of these people are gonna tell the same lie in all these books? Stop it right now, DeSantis. Gone now. Go somewhere, have a conversation like an adult, and get your state under control immediately. That's going to end it for this week's episode of A Win is a Win. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and share. And I promise you, I'm not charging you a thing. All you got to do is just listen if you like. Hit that notification bell so you know when a new episode drops. And don't forget, you could catch us on Apple Podcasts. You could catch us on Spotify and iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast. And guess what? You already know. I'll be back next week. Peace.